And yes, our dear listeners, we are back to you live from a galaxy far, far away.
So, and yes, I survived my juice cleanse. For everyone that listened to the main podcast, I am here. I'm alive, and for this, I'm going to be in my Super Saiyan Sith character.
I don't know how you survived, but you know what? We here for it.
It was torture. Let me tell you. Like I tried on some yoga pants after I got done with it, and this may be inappropriate for some people, but you could skip ahead 10 seconds. But my peach ain't peaching like it used to, so I'm actually kind of sad about the juice cleanse.
Dang. It really be like that sometimes.
But I'm chiseling up in other areas, so we got to trade the wins with the losses.
Hey, but you want to know what's something that we're clearly losing at right now?
What's up?
This weather war that's going on.
Taking the L's.
Yeah, it's like the South is taking massive L's, even though it's like the West Coast, y'all just dying over there. I don't know how y'all surviving a hurricane and an earthquake at the same time.
And when I saw it said, "Oh, West Coast gets hit by like a hurricane," I was like, "What is happening right now?" But
it's dry as bones down here.
Yeah, but for all our West Coast listeners, stay safe, stay up. And again, thank you for listening. Just hope everything is okay with y'all. So with that, I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Demetrius.
And Meech presents
the Blurred City Podcast.
So we are back for all of us that are, for those that are main listeners, they kind of know that we did our Secret Invasion weekly recap. So bleeding into that, we decided we're going to go with an Ahsoka series weekly recap as well. We're probably not going to do Loki because that just might be too much for us. And then it's also going to bleed into the holidays. So that might be chaos. But with that, we're going to take Ahsoka for all the episodes that they're going to give out to us. For this week's episode, we're going episodes 1 and 2, just as how they released it. I really love and appreciate that they're releasing it on Tuesday nights. So I can watch it when I have the time to. So that's definitely money. With that, we're going to follow each week for our Wednesday podcast. This week, you can listen to our second part of the Naruto character study, where we cover Shippuden and also a little bit of Boruto, and then the last. So anything you got before we jump in?
I mean, not really. It's like you hear the rundown. So how about let's go ahead and hit us up with that legal spiegel. The purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
All right, so everyone that was with the Secret Invasion, you know that these kind of weekly recap episodes are supposed to be really, relatively short to the main podcast. We're trying to do less than an hour, mainly less than 45 minutes in an ideal world. So with that, we always give you the pulse of the people. You can see these in the description and timestamps below. Pulse of the people, how that goes with just like the reaction, general reaction to the episodes that drop. We get into a brief recap, give our either op or MVP of the week. Then we get into our big questions of the week that don't necessarily relate to the episode. And then also predictions for next week's episode, and then big picture view. In this case, big picture of Star Wars as a whole. So with that, in our first episode of Secret Invasion, we also got into what we need to know. With this, Meech, before we get into this whole Star Wars thing, two things I'm going to have to require because of interested parties that we're both aware of, and that we also want people, guests to join. We can't simp. Number one, we can't simp anymore.
Says who?
Such the people that are listening that we don't want to listen.
Look, I can try. Listen, I know Yoda said do or do not, there is no try. He wrong in this scenario. He was wrong most of his life, so this is gonna be another one.
That's fair.
I'm a little Jedi for a reason.
And with that, for number two, I am going to serve as kind of just like the common folk people in the Star Wars realm, who maybe not be in depth with all the EU and the backstory lore and stuff like that. You're going to serve as just like a kind of a liaison, knowing all the deep stuff, but keep the gatekeeping and elitism out of it, because we want people to listen and join the Star Wars realm.
Again, I can only try.
And this goes
Jedi for a reason.
And this goes to our future guests as well, because there's only so much I can do.
Well, actually, this rule specifically don't even apply to me. This applies to another specific person, and we both know who that is.
All right. So with that, this being the first episode, what can you tell us what we need to know going into Ahsoka series?
All right, so this is Ahsoka, created by the GOAT Dave Filoni. This is basically Star Wars Rebels season 5. So essentially, what you need to know is that this follows Ahsoka Tano post Mandalorian season 2.5, aka Book of Boba Fett, and this follows just her character, and it follows up on the events of Star Wars Rebels. So if you have not caught up on Rebels and you've not caught up on like that series as a whole, just know that you will have a hard time kind of like being introduced to certain characters, because it kind of like they kind of take the approach of like, all right, you're in this universe, you should know the characters by now type of approach. But if you have seen it, you'll be right as rain, and if you haven't, you'll be slightly confused, but then they'll get you up to speed for a little bit.
Excellent. Anything else, main characters, or do we want to cover that in the recap?
Well, I can just go over some of the main players right now. So main characters is, of course, our Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka Tano. She's, former apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, aka my dad, aka Darth Vader, and of course she was a Jedi, left the Jedi Order after they did some some real op activity against her, and then she just decided to be on her own as just a Force user. And then we also have Hera Syndulla. She's a Twi'lek, and she is a member of the New Republic as a general, and she was one of the key players in Star Wars Rebels. The other returning cast from Star Wars Rebels is my girl Sabine Wren, and she's actually a Mandalorian, and she's pretty much kind of like the secondary main protagonist of the show. She's a Mandalorian, but she's also been trained by the main characters of the show. And then there are two unseen players in this show as well. Number one is Ezra Bridger. He's also a Jedi, was one of the main characters of Star Wars Rebels, and he disappeared along with the other unseen character and also main antagonist of Star Wars Rebels, the final 2 seasons, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, for all you EU fans, you're all just completely going bananas right now because it's Thrawn. He is him. And for all the you non-EU people, just know that Thrawn is an absolute problem. He is perhaps one of the smartest, one of the most tactically sound like a major battle genius, strategically minded, strong tactician, and he just wants to rule and just run everybody's pockets. So, and he's also been missing as well. So that's all you really need to know.
All right. So with that, we can jump into the recap. And what I really enjoyed about how they kind of set the mood is they had the crawl. They brought it back. As far as the words coming up on the screen, and it was just like, okay, let's lock in, people. So with that was really cool. Being the fact that this kind of leads directly from season 4 of Rebels, like you said, can you take the lead in the recap?
All right. So it all starts off with essentially, it goes through the title crawl, basically explaining what in the world Ahsoka's been doing after the end of Boba Fett. And then it goes to a Republic transport. And you get to see a bunch of cannon fodder characters who essentially noticing that hey, this one random ship is approaching, and it has ancient Jedi transmission codes, to which you're just like, hey, yo, what? Because Ahsoka because they're transporting Morgan, who is essentially the main daimyo slash shogunate slash ruler from that one random episode of The Mandalorian, which introduced Ahsoka in season 2. And pretty much she was headed under Grand Admiral Thrawn, and she was just basically got her behind whooped by Ahsoka, and then got arrested because if you under Thrawn, you're a part of the Empire. And so once they get there, they let the ship board because the captain is not playing with a full deck of cards.
He played himself is what he did.
Exactly. He's not playing with a full deck of cards because the ops, they had the rest of the deck.
Joker high, Joker low.
Man, nah, this was Ace King high. This was pocket aces that they had. They got played because they went all in. So out comes these two apparent Jedi, and like who was an old guy, Ray Stevenson, rest in peace to a real goat, but his name is Balin. Balin Skosson.
Balin Skull. Yep.
Yeah, Balin Skull, and his apprentice, Shin Haiti.
Okay, they said her name?
Yes.
Okay, I don't, because I was watching, I was like, did they ever say her name? And I was like, okay.
Yes, it's like quick and you miss it, but her name's Shin, and they basically run roughshod on the entire facility using orange lightsabers. Well, it was more of an orangish red, but it's still orange, and it's not exactly the pure red that we expect out of pure Sith. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much run roughshod on the entire compound, even had their own hallway sequence, which if you're into Star Wars nowadays, apparently, and you're a Jedi, you're going to have to, or you're a Force user, you have to have a hallway sequence. Look at Vader, look at Maul, look at Luke. And then we see like, okay, Morgan Elsbeth, she's released, and there's like, all right, so now we get to go and find the map. Well, here's the thing about that map. Ahsoka has already laid claim to the map by going to a specific planet, if she goes in Tomb Raider style, finds the map, but she can't open it. And so she's like, all right, I'm gonna just pocket it, go back up. And she gets attacked by a bunch of assassin droids, some HK units actually, which if you were part of the Old Republic fandom, you also losing your whole collective mind, because like HK-47, is that you? But it ain't him. It's just his inferior cousins. And of course she lays waste to all of them. They decide to pull an Android 16 and blow themselves up.
I was like, oh man, did they really just pull a Predator? What a cheap way to die.
Yup. And from there, she has to essentially go find a way to open this map, because what's the purpose of this map, if you want to take it away?
To find Grand Admiral Thrawn. So with that, something that I had a question about that we can kind of get into now, because it's covered throughout kind of just like the first two episodes, but it's also like in the Mandalorian season 3 a bit. What is it about Thrawn where the remnants of the Empire are like, let's put all of our eggs in that basket? I know you kind of mentioned like how, assertive he is, like smart, such a leader, but to the point where it's like, they're talking about him like if we found Vader Palpatine again, where it's like he will restore the Empire single-handedly.
Yeah, that's because of the fact that he really is him. Like I'm telling you, like when he was the main antagonist of the Rebels for the final 2 seasons, he was handing the Rebels L after L. And in the expanded universe, like I know it's not canon, but it does give you insight into like his character and his mindset, is the fact that like as a villain, he's one of those that is just terrifying. Like he is like, when it came to the Empire, Palpatine favored him. Like if he was a Force user, he definitely would have replaced Vader. That is just how smart and how like competent he is as a ruler and as a leader. And considering the fact that the Empire, they kind of going through it, like Palpatine dead for now. Vader dead and redeemed. Yes. Then you got our boy Gideon put on clones. Cloned and put on a t-shirt.
Yes.
So at this point, like the fact that Thrawn is like the only one who's not confirmed dead, he's the closest they gonna get to like a full leader for the Empire.
Okay, that makes sense. So with that, we're going to speed along again. These aren't like full recaps, so we're just going to speed along. So essentially, we get to kind of I don't recall what planet it is, but it's like a Coruscant. So with that, there was a
Wait, not Coruscant. Yeah. They were on Lothal.
Lothal. So with that, there's a celebration of kind of their victories. They were going to honor Ezra, who they believe is dead at the time, just because of how Rebels ended. And they were like, okay, let's give it to Sabine. Sabine is gone. So like with that, even if you haven't watched Rebels, you're like, okay, so Sabine is like the the outlaw in a sense, where it's just like, oh, she's gonna be the doesn't follow rules like that kind of character, which is really cool. So we see like kind of her motivations. We see that she has a hologram of Ezra. He left like a message to her, just kind of saying goodbye. So it's like, they were essentially siblings, but you can tell that she kind of has more feelings than that for him. With that in that sense. So just going forward with that, Ahsoka pulls up. She's like, hey, I need help with the map. And it turns out that Ahsoka was the master to Sabine, and Sabine was the apprentice with that. And she knows how to like kind of open the map. So she opens the map up, figures out the location of it. But then on the reverse side, we see that Baylan Skoll, he goes with Morgan. And it turns out she's a Night Sister, which is really cool if you played Jedi Survivor or Fallen Order, because you're like, I was really like, oh man, a Night Sister. So with that, that's a really dope introduction. Was she like ever like that in Rebels, or like before she was introduced?
Well, Morgan was first introduced in that one Ahsoka episode. I mean, the one episode in Mandalorian. And we never got any information about her. So it was in here that it was like basically established that she's a Night Sister, which I'm like, hey, yo, which is crazy considering like she's the first like female Dathomirian, like female Night Sister that we see in live action.
And they hate the Jedi, right? Despise them, right?
Oh, absolutely. They kind of like, they're kind of like a third faction, because the Dathomirian / Night Sisters, they're like the same people from the same planet that Maul came from. And yeah, so they're pretty much in league with like Maul and Asajj Ventress and Savage Opress and all the Clone Wars era characters. And they were their own third faction. And they did not like the Jedi, but they hated Palpatine more.
That makes sense, because Palpatine is always watching. So with that, people that don't know the Night Sisters, they're the best way to describe it is like a witch. But moving kind of forward with that, you see that they have beef. And like one of my questions is like, why are they beefing so hard? But it turns out that Ahsoka was a deadbeat mom to Sabine. And kind of left her on her own and abandoned her. So if there's any insight you kind of want to give to that, if they explained it before.
Absolutely not. Like the whole issue is the fact like, hey, so Ahsoka trained Sabine, but then Ahsoka abandoned her, and we kind of somewhat start getting inklings of why in like the next episode.
So with that, just to kind of wrap it up, essentially, Baylan Skoll is ordered to take out, but he sends his apprentice Shen to along with 2 other droids to kind of go after Sabine. And there's a really good lightsaber fight with that. And I thought that Sabine was a part of the donut squad. Like I was about to order Krispy Kreme, some Shipleys. I was excited. And then apparently lightsabers don't do what they used to, because even Vader was kind of slipping with a third sister.
Look, that was okay. So that was kind of like my one thing about this. I'm like, oh, so Sabine just gonna straight up survive this one. Like I knew that immediately.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dang, that's extra disrespect on Qui-Gon Jinn now. Because remember, he got stabbed in the exact same spot.
See,
and died.
The thing with that, where I was like, okay, y'all not gonna care. It was like, first of all, a lot of people that are watching this probably haven't watched. Well, some people haven't watched Rebels, so like to lose Sabine is not going to mean anything at all. But also, are you really going to kill Maria Hill in the first episode and then kill Sabine in the first episode? Like, it's just like, come on. So we kind of bleed into episode 2 if you want to take it from there.
Yep. So after Sabine got nearly put in a pack, she wakes up in a hospital bed, finds out like, okay, I got stabbed. I I'm ready to like get back out there. Ahsoka's like, nah, see, you didn't listen to me. Like I told you not to take that map and open it, but nah, you just wanted to be hot stuff, all right? But you know what? It's fine. All right. You stay in bed. I'ma go handle it. And then you see Hera basically being the mom that she was in Rebels, because she basically was the mom of the entire group. And so she's like, hey, listen, you're too hard on yourself, Sabine. But then also goes to Ahsoka's like, hey, Sabine trying her best, all right?
Mhm.
So why is it that you why you pressing her so hard?
Yeah, I think we can get into that like after we get into the recap, but there's a lot to like
Yeah.
break down with Ahsoka's character.
Exactly. So essentially, like they end up finding a droid, like the remains of a droid that attacked her. Essentially, they managed to get the information out of it, telling her like, "Hey, they come from Corellia, aka the planet Han is from," and they're like, "Okay, me and like Ahsoka and Hera, we go to Corellia, see like if Morgan has like any extra dealings in factories that are still active." And then while that's happening, you have Balin. I keep calling him Bale because
You're good. You're good.
the Balin and Skull is like Bay, and then
Yes.
it just flows. Okay, so Balin and Morgan, she opens up the map, which literally just blows my mind apart
Yes.
for two reasons. Reason number one, that map and then her placing it in stone turns it into a star map,
Mhm.
which of course charts out all the stars and the planets in the galaxy, which was introduced in Knights of the Old Republic.
Uh-oh.
It was a major plot point in Knights of the Old Republic. So we already got HK droids, assassin droids, and then we got star map. Keep a running count for how many Old Republic references we getting, and I'ma just go over here and start fangirling. And then the other thing about it is the fact that the star map tells them exactly where Thrawn is currently at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's currently in another galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm gonna get into in the theory portion later, but if you an EU fan, you hear another galaxy, your mind went immediately to one place. So let's keep it moving before I about to just spoil it.
So with that, they called it. Well, one thing. Back to Ahsoka. Was she experiencing force echoes at the beginning of the episode?
I wouldn't necessarily say she was, because if you notice, like every time like something happened, it was always like Sabine in her sleep.
Okay.
And like it was like Sabine was the one who perhaps was having those visions / dreams.
Okay, because the way they shot it is like she was walking around looking and stuff like that, and they were like playing it back, and so it kind of seemed like that. But and then also kind of with Balin, they call it the pathway to Peridia. We're gonna leave that to the theory section because I something might get spoiled, so I'm not sure. So with that, we go forward and we see that our girl Sabine is hurting. She has a cool conversation with, is it Wing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, the robot, and just like kind of very logical about like, hey, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to show that I'm ready, but she like isn't accepting me. And it's like, yo, you gotta do it for yourself. You know, you kind of have to start your own pathway. She's not wasting your time. You're wasting your own time with that.
It's like all Mars.
Yeah, all I'm hearing is excuses right now. So with that, Sabine has to kind of go into her own arc of personal growth, which will tie into the end of the episode. So then with that, they go to Corellia. Them droids be snitching. that's what I gotta say later. But with that, it's a lot of ex-Empire people that are kind of hiding out there that we don't know working there, and they're kind of hiding out as well. And then with the leader or organizer, head person of that place, the plant that they're looking at, he's very like shifty, not very compliant. With that, Hera is like, I'm literally a general. I can like order. Yes.
He's like, I can make you do whatever Oh, you need clearance code? I am clearance.
I have the codes in my pocket.
I am clearance. Run me them codes now.
So with that, he has that choice. But then the droid is like, "Yo, I saw a droid just like the one that attacked you," and just like giving the information. And he tried to play it off like he wasn't there, but you like saw one of those dudes who was kind of acting like Cyril, paying attention to stuff that you don't need to be paying attention to. It's like for the Empire. And then with that, they got yoked up. And then so with that, we get into a very cool fight scene as they try to get to a droid that's like flying away. That was a part of kind of just like invading and attacking Sabine. And is it Marek? Marek?
Marok. Or
Marek.
like that. Marrok.
So we're just gonna call you what we call you. Marek kind of pulls up and has the full just like Inquisitor gear. And whoa, what a fight.
Ooh, yeah, he was kind of going at it. Like him and his two assassin droids were kind of running Ahsoka's pockets for a little bit, but Ahsoka was holding her own. Ahsoka was holding her own, you know? And because she was just trying to like capture him, get information. And then at the same time that's happening, Hera is in her ship, the Ghost, alongside international war terrorist himself, Chopper. And if you watch Rebels, you know that this Chopper is a whole war criminal. He has bodies. When I tell you he has R2-D2 levels of bodies. Like, that's how many souls he's taken in just the 4 seasons of Rebels, and he decided to say, "No, what? I'm gonna keep going." And they managed to have like a dogfight in the air because the ship is currently transporting a hyperdrive. And before that ship gets to hyperspace, they managed to throw a tracker on it. And of course, you see the Hera Chopper banter is still incredible. Peak Rebels is as if we never left. And then Ahsoka, like she manages to fight them to a standstill. But old boy Merrick chucks the lightsaber at her and just starts bolting.
Yes.
He starts pulling a Forrest Gump and manages to get on the ship in time before it reached hyperspace, and of course calls the saber back to her, and Ahsoka did a clean Anakin style dodge, just like
yes,
and Ultra Instinct, baby. But yeah, so now Hera's basically trying to find like, all right, where are they taking it? And then we learn that the hyperdrive end up getting sent to a in progress ship called the Eye of Sion.
Yep.
Because what is Morgan trying to do? She trying to find Thrawn. She trying to get to that other galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end things off with Sabine Wren. She's fully healed. She went back home, and by home she's actually living in Ezra Bridger's old home, like from season 1 of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just another added thing. And like she gets out all her Mandalorian armor. She decides to cut off that hair, which I'm just like, baby, why? You look too good with that long hair.
I actually like the bomb. Okay.
I mean, I love her either way, but that long hair was.
We can't sim. We can't sim.
I told you I can only jump, and I'm failing. I'm just saying it had me different. Okay, I won't say that. It just had me different. But so yeah, she's like, I'm ready, yes. And ends up recreating the last scene from Rebels where she goes to the mural, touch on Ezra's like mural, and then turns around to see Ahsoka, and they go to the ship.
So was that essentially just like the end of Rebels, these first 2 episodes?
So I would say that, okay, so with the way Rebels ended, it ended like with Thrawn and them going away, and then it cuts to some time later.
Okay. And
literally like the last scene of like this second episode is almost shot for shot what happened in that last scene of Rebels. So we could only speculate that these first 2 episodes happened right before that final scene.
Okay, so that kind of fills it in. So anything else we want to talk about? I really want to talk about just like Ahsoka. We can kind of just see like her going that loner route, like even Sabine is like, where are you living? And she's like, yo, I'm living on the ship. Wherever I need to be, that's where I am. And just kind of with that, like, it's really interesting because Ahsoka again, like, gave her life to the Jedi Order, got betrayed by all of them. Anakin betrayed her, and then even Anakin, he turned to the dark side. So it's like, okay, the order that I believed in labeled me a criminal, kicked me. Well, I left, but essentially wanted to arrest me. My master turned away to just the dark side and was the op above all. And then, like, now I have an apprentice, but then I left her as well. So it's kind of just like that pull of who she's going to become. So I'm not sure, like, we can get into predictions later, but just like if she like fully embraces her again, or if she just like keeps going her own path.
Yeah, it's like that was actually something that I did want to talk about. It's like the cycle of abandonment. Because of the fact, like, Ahsoka, she felt abandoned by the Jedi Order, and like when she was framed for murder, and of course the only person who was on her side was Anakin. But then Anakin, well, of course she abandons Anakin, and Anakin turning to the dark side and going full, as you mentioned, full op above all. That's basically like abandonment number 2 for her, because of that, like, she didn't know that he was Vader until like season 2 of Rebels. And then they fought. And if it wasn't for the fact that Ezra saved her at the end of Rebels season 4, she dies. So you can imagine just all the psychological damage that comes from that. Is like, hey, the person that I saw as like my older brother, as my older brother / father figure, was fully going to kill me. And if it wasn't for the fact that Ezra pulled some time shenanigans, I'm dead, technically dead in this timeline. So yeah, I can definitely see like why she would have like attachment issues. Because don't forget, she couldn't train Grogu because, like, technically I'm not a Jedi. And that's another thing, like, I do want to touch upon is just the, like, Ahsoka's identity, kind of like identity crisis, because it was like Ahsoka, Jedi Padawan, then Jedi Knight, then it's like Ahsoka, just regular citizen after leaving, and then she's like, hey, I'm not a Jedi. Even though I carry lightsabers, I use the light side of the Force, I may work with the Council if they were alive. I worked with Luke just to like make sure the Jedi Order gets off on the right foot, but I technically not a Jedi. I have no affiliation. I just work for the good. And I'm just like, dang, that's some deep stuff. So that's something like, and that's getting into predictions for what I see later on.
Yeah, and I don't want you to like potentially spoil, but just like even like knowing that this becomes before episode 7, 8, and 9, which are unfortunately canon, where it's just like she wasn't in those either. So it's just kind of like, ooh, did she get GG'd, or is it kind of like a rebel situation where she's off in a distant place, kind of taking care of business? So,
see what happened. Well, I can't spoil what happened. I can't spoil what happened, but you know what I was gonna say about episode 9. So. Yeah. So I'm just like,
oh yeah. Okay. Let's move forward. So
Balin Scott.
With that, yeah. With that, I'm interested in seeing his character. It sucks that the actor died and passed away. So with that, I'm not sure if this is going to be a situation where they wrote the character where. If this potential, I feel like Ahsoka is big enough to get a season 2, and that they would want to like put the juice behind a season 2 for Ahsoka. So I wonder if the character was written in a way where it's like, oh, there's going to be more stuff in season 2, and we're never going to get that, or if like he comes to a complete character arc in season 1.
I don't know. Like I'm thinking, like at least I'm hoping he does like a full character arc, and you may never see him again. Or maybe they're going to pull what they did with Reva in Obi-Wan Kenobi, where it's like, okay, they fully committed her story. He's going to just go right off into the sunset, and we never address him again. But one thing I'm also very interested in is the fact that Shin, right? She was very, her intuition was on 9,000 when it came to Morgan. Because she did not trust her. Like she barely trusted her as is.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as she said she's a Night Sister, all bets were off and could tell.
Well, just like even with the two of them, because they're clearly not Jedi, and then they're not Sith technically based on the lightsaber colors, we can assume that. And then he wants power. So I'm definitely just like kind of interested to see in like their dynamic. And then we obviously see with her that she's like trusting her master, but at the same time, kind of just like, let's keep an eye out. And it's going to be interesting, their dynamic, and then also Ahsoka and Sabine's dynamic, and then also Ahsoka and the remnants of Anakin, because we know that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to basically this season in series. I'm thinking it's basically going to be Master and Apprentice. It's basically going to be just that theme over and over again. Because what makes you think like Thrawn is not going to be kind of the master and Morgan's not the apprentice? So we got 4 master and apprentices just right there.
That's true.
Right there. But yeah, is there anything else?
Not at the moment. We can get into a bit more later with predictions. I think that's going to be juicy. But let's get into, since it's the first episode, let's get into Op of the Week.
Ooh, oh man,
a lot to choose from.
It really is, but it's like you got Marek, but then he only just fired once. Baylan and Shin, they both basically are mercenaries, but really I say the op is 100% Morgan.
You could also say it's Grand Admiral because of the impact on Morgan, but let's go with Morgan because I was definitely thinking that.
Yeah, so the only reason I'm not giving it to Thrawn is because of the fact he hadn't appeared yet, even though his influence is 100% felt. Because of the fact we hadn't seen this man do anything yet. He not the full op yet. But as far as like who we see is 100% Morgan, to where like how is it that even one of your hired bound mercenaries is wary of you and your intentions?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is some next level villainy. You're just like, listen, we gotta be careful about her because she about to pull some devious shenanigans.
Yeah, because even like what you said, like Shin, she doesn't know what bringing Thrawn back does. Like she asked Baylan, her master, and he's like, it can mean war for some, and then what was the other option? Prosperity or something like that.
Yeah, it's like war for one, prosperity, and peace for another.
And then for us, it's power. So yeah, definitely Morgan right now. We got to keep an eye on her. She's definitely pulling strings, and these are effective villains. Usually, like obviously, like you want to establish your villains early, but like sometimes it's like, okay, incompetent, can't get things done. But episode 1, let's get the map. They get the map. Episode 2, let's escape before they can catch us. Technically, they did get the tracker put on them, but they did accomplish their mission. So yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see it for these next few episodes. With that, let's get into our big questions of the week. Again, for those that listen to our Secret Invasion episodes, you kind of understand how this works. But for those that didn't, it's just like a big question. It doesn't necessarily have to relate to the show. So what you got?
All right. Question number 1, right? The other galaxy. Is it time? Are we about to see the Yuuzhan Vong? Am I about to get my money? Where's my money at, Filoni? Where is it? I know you listening to this podcast because ain't no way.
I feel like since they already confirmed that there's going to be, well, quote unquote confirmed, because we don't know when these writers or actors coming back, that they're going to do a movie. I feel like that's going to be their opportunity to do the Yuuzhan Vong.
Yeah, and then set them up right here. I see it. I can see it. I see the vision. But yeah, it's like with that second that second galaxy is of course like about the ability of the Yuuzhan Vong, because that's where they are from in the EU. Listen to our deconstruction of the sequels episode if you want to learn more. But yeah, like is it gonna be the Yuuzhan Vong? Is it actually gonna be like, because there's actually there's the Charon, which are like like they're in other space, which is kind of like another dimension inside hyperspace. And it's like the way they got there, like it's a whole different level of shenanigans. Like maybe they can introduce them. They're like, I mean, they're like not really known, but they are still deadly. Oh, that could be like where the Waru comes from, which is also another a being that's literally tied to the anti-force. So
A lot of directions.
yeah, there's so many directions to go on.
Oh, no, that's going to be predictions. Keep going, keep going.
Nope. And then there's that. Also, another question, who is Marek?
Uh-huh.
Because I have two theories about that. And you want me to say them now, or you want me to say...
Let's do it for theories. So I'll ask my question first.
All right. So Marek, and then that's... Yep. And is Sabine Force sensitive? Boom. Good go.
Okay, so for my questions, it's multiple ones, but it leads into a bigger one. But after watching episode 2 of this, Toil and Trouble, it was, what is a soldier without a war, a teacher without a student, an apprentice with no master? What happens when the purpose or task that we served our whole life ends? And it was just like, you see that with Ahsoka, where it's like she doesn't know what she's like doing in life. She's just moving place to place, like you said, putting out small fires and stuff like that. With Sabine, we see she doesn't have a master. She also lost like her best friend. She's kind of directionless at the moment before Ahsoka came into her life. Also, we see it with Morgan, where it's just kind of, and like mostly the Empire, where it's like, oh, we lost our 2 biggest guns. Let's go find Thrawn and start another war to bring back the Empire. So kind of just like with that, it's just like, you know, a lot of people sometimes dedicate their entire life to like these things, whether it be a job, a person, hobbies, different things like that. And then when that ends, it's kind of like, what am I without that? How do I move forward? So that was kind of my second question. Well, my main big question of the week.
Okay, nice. Those are pretty great questions to ask, because those like lean more into the philosophical side of things. Yeah.
Yes. So with that, we are going to get into our predictions for next week's episode, but then also bigger picture of Star Wars.
All right. So as far as like what happens next episode, I feel like this is going to be one of those where it's all about like Sabine essentially training under Ahsoka, trying to get her skills basically like up to speed. But I also think it might be a time where she's like starting to slowly develop her own style, because like the lightsaber she uses in Rebels is Ezra's. And
Long even mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, and is Ezra's. And the fact that like she's a Mandalorian, so like she has Mandalorian weaponry. Is she going to like develop her own style? Is she going to like develop into something new, considering like is she even Force sensitive to begin with, or is she just like, because they said like, hey, her aptitude for the Force is low. And it's low. So, but even though like we still see that she can like hear different visions and like and things of whatnot. So it's like, how Force sensitive are you? And like, are you going to essentially like take on a style? And this actually also poses another question, which like if Ahsoka is essentially training Sabine, is she technically a Jedi or not? Is this going to be like a new redefinition of what a Jedi is? Like, is it more than just like, oh yeah, I have an aptitude for the Force and I have a lightsaber? Or is it like more of a, okay, I'm willing to do stuff for the greater good type of deal?
Interesting. So maybe blaster stance if you play Jedi Survivor people?
Yes, very blaster stance.
That's actually a great point about the Jedi one. I actually really like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then next one, again, as I said, is the Yuuzhan Vong setup, please. But then Marek. You know that if you have a character who did not speak once this episode and is masked, you know his identity gonna be kind of a big deal. So I have two theories. The first one is the one that I thought of immediately when watching the episode, and that is Marek is a brainwashed Ezra.
Ooh. Interesting.
And because the signs are there. Firstly, when you first see Marek appear, it's right after a scene of them looking at Ezra's like hollow tape. So it caused you to like subconsciously make a connection there. Number two is the fact that build wise, the suit actor and Ezra's like live action actor are very comparable. Like they're very, very similar and very much the same. And then number three, why else would you have a masked character?
Meech, you know you're not supposed to be writing right now, right? Y'all on strike.
Look, listen. I'm just cooking right now. I'm just cooking. But here's the other one. Here's the other theory that is also kind of prevalent. It's also kind of cooking. It's Star Killer.
But it could be. All I know is that
no. Hear me out. Number one, it's another story like about masters and apprentices, right? What better way than have the apprentice of Anakin versus the apprentice of Vader? And then number two, and this is the only reason why I even considered this option, it was the fact that in the credits, Sam Witwer is in there.
Bam!
Sam Witwer is in the credits. In the credits of the cast. And I saw that. I was like, no.
Yeah, if it is either one of those, you need to get paid by Disney.
Yes. And I know Sam Witwer, phenomenal like actor, phenomenal like voice work, because he voices a lot of characters in the Star Wars verse. So they very well could have put that in as a red herring, or just him voicing like any random character like that we've seen in the verse. I had to re-listen to it multiple times. It's like, is that Sam? Is that Sam?
I don't know what he could have done. It wasn't an alien heavy episode.
No, it was not. Episodes. That's the thing. It's like he could have been like one of the droids.
That's true.
But that's why, because it just says Sam Witwer and it never says like who he played. I'm like, so yeah, those are my main ones. I need my money.
Jeez. Man, that's crazy. For next week's episode, all I can kind of think about is we're going to see kind of the dynamic between Ahsoka and Sabine. I don't know what their dynamic was in Rebels, if it was like very friendly or not, or kind of just like, okay, so friendly, as you say, and then now it's just going to be more contentious, bringing up old stuff, but then getting shut down. Ahsoka having her heart closed off for multiple reasons, and then Sabine being hurt from that, kind of just like the trauma of losing someone. They both understand that in such like an intimate way. For predictions of the season, again, kind of what I mentioned in our reconstruction deconstruction episode, I believe that everything Disney will do now, well, also we talked about Mandalorian, is that they want to really make episodes 7, 8, and 9 make sense. Like with the First Order coming to power, with the clones, so cloning Palpatine and stuff like that, which we also see in the Bad Batch of that. So I kind of think whatever like leads to that, they kind of wanted to make sense in different ways. So we'll see unnecessary stuff that adds to be like, oh, hey, this is how they came to power. Other big thing that you mentioned it, I think that when Thrawn comes back, because you don't do this for him not to come back, and the different things you mentioned, he's bringing something back that he shouldn't. That's what I think is going to happen. And then also with Sabine being a Mandalorian, I think maybe not this season, or it'll be like a quick appearance. We might see our boy Jen.
Then he on his phone.
Yes.
He on his ranch with my son. They just chilling. They living their best life.
I feel like
it'd be a nice reversal of what happened with the Ahsoka episode.
Exactly. Oh, but he has to go on adventures with Grogu, remember? Because now that Grogu is officially, pledged with that, so they have to go on adventures now. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. All right. So I guess we're going to just like chill out and then wait for episode 3 to drop.
Yep.
All right. So with that, let's get into our recommendations and plugs.
All right. So for my recommendations, they're all going to be Star Wars related, and they're all going to be basically Ahsoka related. So Star Wars: The Clone Wars, both the movie and the series. And the best part about my suggestions is they are all on Disney Plus. So if you're watching Ahsoka, then you have no excuse. Like you can literally just go boop, 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 and you're there. So
yes, before Disney cuts down on the password sharing.
I mean that too, but don't worry, I don't have those issues. So we got that, and then of course, as I mentioned, after watching Ahsoka, you watch Star Wars Rebels, like all of it because it's all good, and then that gets you caught up on all of the characters you may be feeling confused about. After that, you watch The Mandalorian season 2, specifically the episode called, I think it's called The Jedi or something of that nature. It's the only episode that Ahsoka is in. So get that.
And it's part of season 3. No, wait, just season 2. There's 2 episodes she was in, right?
No, it's this and then Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, okay, because Book of Boba Fett turned into The Mandalorian halfway through.
Exactly. That's why you got confused for a second. You almost had me confused. I'm like,
I was like, I know we saw them twice.
Yes. So literally, after you see that one episode of Mandalorian season 2, you immediately go to Book of Boba Fett and you go like to the episode after Return of the Mandalorian. And that episode also has Ahsoka, and you also see her talk with Luke Skywalker. So by the time you finish all of that, you'll be fully caught up with the character of Ahsoka and you'll be raring to go.
My only recommendation to add is that maybe Obi-Wan might help for when we get to the later Anakin scenes and tying into like kind of his mentality with that. So we're also going to see another master apprentice relationship, which can tie to that. And one quick thing I want to add, I will not get off this bandwagon. Y'all like quote unquote fans that got on Third Sister, y'all need to check yourselves because again, this is a very diverse show, and then there are a lot of women leads in Ahsoka, but they want to get on Third Sister for no reason with the hate. So I'm watching, man. I got Third Sisters back all day.
The saying is because she black.
Ahsoka's quote unquote black.
Well, yeah, Rosario Dawson is a black woman. So.
Yes. All right, so let's get into
energy.
Exactly. Let's get into our plug.
Yeah, we got ourselves the, you know who we are. We're Blurred City. We got ourselves our Instagram and our threads and our Twitter under Blurred City 22. Like, follow, subscribe. Oh, wait, sorry, not Twitter. I mean X. My fault.
That just sounds dirty for some reason, man. Like,
because it is.
Check out my X.
And like when you post on there, do you expose?
I don't know, man.
Communicate.
That's what unfollow is. You excommunicate.
But yeah, Blurred City 22. Like, follow, comment, subscribe, expose, excommunicate, do all of that. Then we got ourselves our YouTube and our Patreon, Blurred City Pod. You come on there, donate a little cheddar for the Patreon, get access to very exclusive episodes, and we have more coming up in the pipeline. We also have ourselves the Discord linked in the Instagram page. If you want to join a fine community of just pure degenerates, then go ahead, join Blurred City Nation today. And by degenerates, I mean Gap Freak. But yeah. But yes, and then after that, we have ourselves our email, blurredcity22@gmail.com, where you can submit questions for a Q&A, submit Geek Out Freakouts, random fan theories of the week. This is where you can also send in how you feel about the show to us, so that way we can see like how the people are feeling about the show in general. Mm-hmm. So, and then finally, I'm the Rogue Jedi 21 on TikTok. I think TikTok is still it's kind of on life support right now. It's kind of on pack watch, but it's apparently still alive. So I guess I'll still post on it. So that's all I got.
All right. For my individual author pages, we have my Instagram, Mitri_Dash. So that's METRI_DASH. For my X, we have @the_Mad-16. I'll probably start posting it more later in this year as I get ready to prepare for my sequel dropping early next year. And for my book, if you want to check it out, Phantom Pain, It's Almost a Regular Tale. You can catch that on Amazon Kindle. So with that, yeah, we're gonna try to drop these episodes every Monday. See how the schedule kind of works out with that, and then with that, our main episodes we can catch that on Wednesdays. So with that, our second episode we're gonna drop Naruto Character Study Part 2. Again, as I mentioned, covering Naruto Shippuden, the movie, and then also a bit of Boruto. So with that, it's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now, and that's the Blur City Podcast.
See ya later.